All right, happy Monday. Today's gonna be a nice and easy lesson, all video based, starting with the warm up. So go ahead and knock these 4 questions out. Use the red font if you need help. Go ahead and unpause the video when you're ready to go over them together. All right, hopefully you pause the video and try these on your own. Remember, when we're doing this, questions like number 1, we gotta drop down the terms that are separated with a plus or minus sign first. So I'm gonna drop down the minus 2x and the plus 2. Now we can distribute out the 3. I have 3 times 5x, which is 15x, and 3 times 4, which is 12. So there's my first line, that's complete. Now we can combine like terms. I have 15x minus 2x. Then I have a positive 12, positive 2. Looking at my x's, 15x minus 2x is 13x. 12 plus 2 is 14. There is your answer. 13x plus 14, or 14 plus 13x is also correct. Give yourself a pat on the back if you got that one correct. Moving on, number 2. Timothy's got some coins in a jar. He's got 6 pennies, 8 nickels, 10 dimes, and 4 quarters. What is the ratio of the number of pennies to the number of nickels? So we only care about pennies and nickels here. So it's 6 to 8. Remember, the order matters. Now 6 to 8 is absolutely correct. But with ratios, we always got to simplify. So 6 to 8, if I divide these both by 2, we get 3 to 4. So our answer would be A. Give yourself a pat on the back if you're 2 for 2. Moving on, number 3, evaluate the following. Remember, with these problems, we move the decimal, the exponent, number of times. And since it's multiplication, we're moving it to the right. So if I have 7.76 and I move this 4 times, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. The decimal is now over here. There's 2 empty spaces, so that's 2 zeros. So when I rewrite this, it looks like this for an answer of 77,600. Moving on, number 4, we are dividing fractions here. Remember, when we divide fractions, it's keep, change, flip. So here we got a bunch of string that we're splitting up into smaller pieces. The amount that he has divided by the smaller pieces. So there's the math problem. This is not ready to keep, change, flip yet until we work with it a little bit. Remember, turning this mixed number to an improper fraction, it's 4 times 5 plus 3. So 4 times 5 is 20 plus 3 is 23 over 4 divided by our 1/2. Now we can keep, change, flip it. Keep the first number, change division, multiplication. 1 over 2 flips to 2 over 1. And there we have it going straight across. 23 times 2 is 46. 4 times 1 is 4. And for today, I'm ready, or it's fine if you just want to leave it as an improper fraction. If you then reduce this, it would be 23 halves, which then would reduce to 11 and 1/2. So any one of those answers are correct. If you want 4, give yourself a big old pat in the back. Put this away in your folder. Move on to the daily dose on the back of your small sheet. Knock it out. All right, daily dose statistics, box and whisker plots. Try this on your own. Pause the video if you need to. Read through each question and figure out which one is true. Hopefully you pause the video. Let's work through them. A says the median score on test 1 was greater than test 2's median. Well, if I look at the medians, they are literally right on top, stacked on top of each other, so that means they're the same value. So A cannot be right. B says they both have the same quartile 1. Remember, quartile 1 is the start of the box. That's 6, that's 9. Those are not the same. B's not right. C, the interquartile range of test 1 is larger than the interquartile range of, so let's say test 2. Is test 1's interquartile range bigger? This is test 1. Remember, interquartile range deals with the box, so without even doing any math, I can notice that this box is a lot longer, a lot larger than test 2, so C will be correct. Now, if I were to actually solve it, it ends at 16, it starts at 6. Remember, 16 minus 6, this IQR is 10. This one ends at 16, starts at 9, so that would be 7. So yes, test 1's interquartile range is larger. Last but not least, just to make sure, are both tests Did at least one student score 24 questions? Nope, both maxed out at 21. So your answer is C. Give yourself a pat in the back. You got C. We're moving on to mental math. Oh, it's back. Skewness. What's the answer? Remember, skewness is where it is tailing off to. If this was uniform, these would all be about the same heights. It's not A. B, symmetrical is like the bell curve, we're going to call it. Same on both sides. It's not B. So between C and D, write your answer down. This is tailing off to the right, so it is skewed to the right. Give yourself a pat on the back if you remember that that was skewed right. We're moving on to the activator. It's going to be a little different this time. You're actually going to pause this video, and then we're going to pick up back with it later. In your Launchpad, you have a Brain Pop app. You're going to go to Brain Pop and then click. It'll be an assignment that has the exponents video, and there's going to be 2 questions that you answer during this video. They're called pause point questions. Okay, you're going to write those answers to your questions down to your activator, and once you're done with that, come back to this video. So at this time, stop this video, go to Launchpad, click Brain Pop, and then find the exponent video with pause points that looks like that. Pause the video, come back to me later. All right, hopefully you watched the video, got those 2 questions correct. So we can move on to first slide of the day. In your notebook, copy this down. Pause the video if you need to. Talking about exponents. With exponents, we've done this a little in the past. Exponents, the base is the large number and the exponent is the small number up top right, okay? The exponent tells us how many times the base is repeated. The base is the number that gets multiplied by itself, okay? It's going to be repeated. So in this case, it's 3 to the 2nd power. So that's going to be 3 written twice, 3 times 3. In this case, it would be 9. But first of all, we'll get there later. As far as vocabulary goes, base is the big number, exponent small number. Once you do this copy down, go ahead and move on to the next slide. Pause it if you need to. So when I'm reading this stuff, 2 is the base, 10 is the exponent. We would read this as 2 to the 10th power, or 2 raised to the 10th power. How would we read this one? 5 to the 6th power. Okay, it's raised to the 6th power. So this would be 6 5s multiplied together. This would be 10 2s. It would double every time you write a 2 down. All right, next part of notes. We've seen this before. Pause the video. Squared has an exponent of 2. If something is squared, it is to the 2nd power. So 3 to the 2nd power, we read it as 3 squared. And then just like we've seen in volume before, the cube is the same number 3 times, length, width, and height. Squared is just length and width. It's the same number over and over. Cubed is to the 3rd power. It has an exponent of 3. So if you see something cubed, it has an exponent of 3. 4 to the 3rd power is more commonly known as 4 cubed. Pause the video. Once you got it written down, you can move on to the next slide. All right. So when we're given these exponents, this is called exponential form when it has an exponent in it. We're going to rewrite them as expanded form. Remember, expanded means to elongate something. So 2 to the 4th power in expanded form would just be the base repeated this number of times. So it would be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That is this in expanded form. We're not going to worry about solving it yet. That is just how we rewrite this. So my next one, we have 0.4 squared. I'm writing this number of times. So 0.4 times 0.4. That's 0.4 squared. 2, 0.4. 2 4/10. Last but not least, the exponent is 3, so this would be written as 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3. These are all written in expanded form. Taking them from an exponential form, writing them in expanded form. Expanded form is going to help us solve these later in the lesson. All right, working backwards this time. This is given to us in expanded form. We're going to write it in exponential form. Keyword being exponent. So when you see a number repeated over and over, in this case just twice, this is going to be the base. So it's 12 to the, how many times do we see it? Twice, so it's 12 to the second power, aka 12 squared. The base, 4, there's a whole bunch of them, so it's going to be 4 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 to the 6th power is how that would be written in exponential form. Last but not least, the base, what number is repeated? 9. How many times is it repeated? 3 times. This would be 9 to the 3rd power, aka 9 cubed. Now the fun stuff, actually solving it. 2 steps. First, you want to write it in expanded form. It helps you organize your work. And then we're going to do the math afterward. We're just going to work left to right after we write this all out. Okay. Common answer, students want to write down 10 for 2 to the 5th power. This does not say 2 times 5. 2 times 5 either looks like this or this. This is 2 to the 5th power. So every time we write a 2, our answer is doubling. That's why if you ever heard something getting exponentially larger, it's getting very large at a very quick rate. So 2 to the 5th power, we write this, our base, down the exponent number times. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now when we solve it, working left to right, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. That is the sloppiest way to write 32. My bad. 32. 2 times 8 is 4, 8, 16, 32. All right? You try these through on your own. Pause the video. We'll go over it here whenever you unpause it. All right, so looking at this one, 5 squared, we have 2 5s that are getting multiplied together. 5 times 5, we know is 25. Hopefully you got that one correct on your own. This one's a little more challenging. I'm writing 2 0.8 to 0.8 times 0.8. Now look, there's a decimal that we're gonna have to move at the end. However many decimals are behind, or how many number of digits are behind the decimals, how many times I move the decimal at the end. So there's an 8 there behind it and an 8 there. So I'm gonna have to move my decimal 2 times at the end. Well, 8 times 8 is 64. And since I gotta move the decimal twice, 1, 2, my answer would be 0.64 there. Last but not least, 1/2 cubed. All right, 1/2 3 times. We have 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. These ones, not that tricky. Don't overthink it. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 to infinity and beyond is always going to be 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Over 2 times 2 times 2 is not 6. It's doubling every time. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. And that would be the answer to 1/2 cubed. Hopefully you got all 3 of those. If not, hopefully it made sense as we went over them. That's it for the lesson. Now, to get the access code to today's assignment, which is right underneath the video once you exit out the video, you got to show me your notes from your notebook on those 2 or 3 slides. Show me the answer to the exit ticket. In return, you'll get the access code to begin today's assignment. Thank you for watching.